There's a great book. I don't know if you've read this. If you haven't read this, I would recommend it. I can't recommend it highly enough to you. It's called Painting as a Pastime, and it was written by Winston Churchill. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, I have heard of it, and I think I've read quotes, and it's an incredible way to look at things differently
Yeah,
and train your brain in a different way.
absolutely. And Churchill talks about that. He says once you start painting, and it's kind of like photography or artistic things. Once you start painting, you start seeing the world differently. You start seeing colors. Oh,
Yeah,
how would I represent that? What kind of shading would I use? Things of that nature. But the other thing he talks about, Jared, and I want you to speak to this a little bit, because it sounds like what you're telling us is the painting was kind of a natural offshoot of your creative. You already part of a creative community.
yes,
So the painting was kind of a natural offshoot of that. But one of the things that Churchill talks about in the beginning of the book, and he kind of describes it in military terms because that's kind of the way he was, but he's like, seeing that white blank canvas can be frightening. It can be so scary. Like, how do you put the first mark on it? It's almost like writer's block. Like, how do you get started, right?
Okay, so I had the same question posed to me before my accident as a writer. Where do you start? How
Yeah,
do you, and I love Stephen King responding, you don't get writer's block, you just keep writing.
yeah,
And painting's a little bit similar. Now, one thing I do as a trick is I'll have someone else. I've got like anywhere from 4 to 5 assistants, not just for painting, but live and everything else. And they prep the canvas first. And a lot of times now I'll always pick the color and, kind of go lighter, darker, bluer, redder, whatever. But at least getting that first coat on there is done. And it's like it's no longer white. But there's other ways to do it
yeah,
in terms of like doing the drawing and it's such a weird thing, like what people want, what people expect, and the idea of art itself. What is art? What is an art? What qualifies? And I kind of get to the end of the day, I believe everyone's allowed to, uh, think of it however you want to. And some people like this, some people like that. And thank God, that's the greatest thing. My wife and I tell our boys all the time, it would be so boring if everyone was the same anymore.
yeah.
Everything looked the same. It's like, it's wonderful because everything's so different and varied, and that's nice.
One of the things that Churchill talks about in his book, and again, I really hope you read it, is for
Yeah,
people that have other jobs, for people that have, especially real high pressure jobs, it's really hard to go from a really high pressure situation to just nothing, to just completely unplugging,
yeah,
right? And so Churchill talks about how painting is an active experience, and it's a way to relax your mind and use a different part of your mind. And music is the exact same way, right? Music is a way to get into a flow state where you're not thinking about anything, you're just doing. And so
right.
do you experience that kind of thing when you're painting where like everything just drops away? And
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they talk about it in Buddhism. I think it's called the Wu Wei, and the idea is to do without doing,
yeah,
and to know without knowing. And you get into kind of a meditative state where it's like everything else falls to the side, and you're looking at the shades of a blue for a while and changing it and doing that sort of stuff. And it does happen. There are times, and good times, when I get to that point. Sometimes it feels like a fist fight.
yeah,
It's a total, it's like, shit, man, I'm in the weeds. I don't know what it's going to do. I don't want to waste my time. That sort of thing. But, you just kind of hack your way through it and keep going. And that's really what I try to tell my boys. As I'm telling them and they're watching, I'm like, there's always a way to do something, guys. Like, there's always a way there. You can always figure stuff out. And that was the big mantra in the rehab hospital was never give up. And I was like, well, that's easy to say.
yeah,
But there's some truth to it. And that is boiled down to its simplest terms. Like, just never give up, man. Just keep take it like we talked about at the beginning, 1 minute at a time, sometimes it's one day, an hour, a month, whatever. And you just keep those tracks going at the same time, where it's long-term, short-term.